The Great Ruler Episode 128 Explanation. The other battle stage was rather calm and quiet compared to the battle stage that Luo Li and Shui Tianhe were fighting on, with violent spiritual energy soaring into the sky. Wen Qingxuan held onto her golden war spear as her armor wrapped around her exquisite and voluptuous figure, outlining her attractive curves. Her gaze was staring at the battle stage of Luo Li and Shui Tianhe. Her gaze was a little heavy as she sensed the fearsome spiritual energy exploding from their confrontation. Shui Tianhe truly was not someone to be trifled with, as he was able to fight with Luo Li to this point. "Ha, looks like you are pretty concerned about the battle over there." Ji Xian stood with his hands behind his back as he watched the battle on the other stage as well and smiled at Wen Qingxuan. Wen Qingxuan indolently shifted her gaze to Ji Xian as she smiled. "What? Ji Xian, you're not going to fight? I don't have any grudges with you. If we were to fight now, we would definitely suffer injuries. Thus, I suggest for us to wait for their results." Ji Xian smiled. "You're worried about overexhausting your strength, and it doesn't matter which one of them will win, as you will still face a little trouble in the end, right?" A mocking arc rose on Wen Qingxuan's lips as she replied. Ji Xian was slightly stunned before having a smile. "At least this way, your chances will also be higher. What a loathsome fellow, no wonder Luo Li doesn't like you." Wen Qingxuan spoke indifferently. "It doesn't matter how scheming you are, compared to Mu Chen, you're inferior." Hearing her words, Ji Xian knitted his brows as he spoke. "In the spiritual road, Mu Chen fell in my hands, and this time in the Great Spiritual Academy tournament as well. Even he doesn't have the qualifications to even fight with me. You tell me, how am I inferior compared to that loser? You should be well aware of how you won the 2 times." Wen Qingxuan sneered. "The results are more important in this world. The losers do not have any qualifications to give any excuses." Ji Xian said indifferently. "What a thick face you have." Wen Qingxuan raised the golden war spear in her hand as she pointed it towards Ji Xian. A smear of frost appeared on her face. "In the elimination round, you dared to use me to lure Mu Chen out, and now, I will claim your debts." Boom! When Wen Qingxuan's cold voice fell, an astonishing spiritual energy fluctuation spread out. Judging from the strength, she had gone through her 3rd-grade spirit disaster. "Seems like you do not agree to my suggestion." Ji Xian faintly spoke out. "Rustle." Wen Qingxuan's reply was a brilliant spear ray that streaked across the horizon. In just an instant, it had already appeared before Ji Xian. Looking at the swift spear ray, Ji Xian jolted his body, but there weren't any signs of dodging. He stood his ground as he allowed that spear ray pierce his throat under the gasps of surprise that filled the sky. However, there wasn't any blood as the spear pierced through, whereas Ji Xian's figure slowly disappeared. An after-image? An exclamation resounded from the eyes of the one that spoke. Had their eyes slightly trembled. Ji Xian's speed was actually so fast, and they had never noticed him moving. Clearly, Ji Xian's speed exceeded the speed their eyes could follow. "Up in the sky?" Very quickly, someone spoke out as they raised their head. Mid-air, above the golden battle stage, Ji Xian stood with his hands behind his back, allowing the wind to flutter his white robes as he looked extremely elegant with his posture. The spear ray landed a miss, but Wen Qingxuan wasn't surprised, as she knew that it was impossible for an attack of this level to do anything to Ji Xian. Thus, she extended her jade-like hands and started to form seals. A crisp cry suddenly rang out between the heavens and earth as a pair of golden wings appeared behind Wen Qingxuan. The wings that had expanded at this instant were huge, with a size of approximately 10 feet, and they looked as if they were made of gold, being extremely radiant. Rustle. When Qingxuan's wings flapped as they blew up a violent gale, her silhouette disappeared from within the gale at almost an instant. Up in the sky, Ji Xian's pupils abruptly shrank, and before he could move, a violent gale blew from his back as a golden light spread out. When Qingxuan had directly appeared behind him. "I'll see how swift your speed truly is." When Qingxuan's cold voice resounded, and at the same time, the golden war spear in her hand had already turned into a ray of light as she thrust it forth. Rustle. Ji Xian's gaze was cold as he formed seals with one hand and his figure jolted. The spear RSY pierced through, but it was another after-image. Ji Xian's figure appeared in the sky 1,000 meters away. But the instant he reappeared, another spear ray was thrust towards him. Rustle. Rustle. Up in the sky, the two figures were like ghosts as their locations constantly changed every single time the image was pierced through. The scene made everyone feel dumbfounded. They couldn't even sense the movement of those two and could only catch their figures when they attacked. Their speeds were simply like ghosts. Facing with the speed of those two, even Wu Ling and the rest of the pinnacle experts had a heavy expression on their faces as they knew that if it was them, they could only stand still and suffer their attacks, be it from Ji Xian or Wen Qingxuan. Although there wasn't a huge commotion from their confrontation, the fearsome speed that they unleashed was extremely startling. Rustle. Ji Xian's figure appeared at another location again, but this time, his face was a little dark. Speed had always been his forte and now, he realized that despite pushing his speed to the limits, he still couldn't shake Wen Qingxuan off. The latter's speed wasn't any inferior to his own. Whoosh! Golden spear light chased and was thrust out again in an extremely tricky angle. HMPH! A cold snort came from Ji Xian as he abruptly clenched his fist. A long spear appeared in a flash as he thrust it out as well. The tip of the two spears collided as a metallic ringing sound resonated. An astonishing wave of aura swept out, as if it was lifting a hurricane. Facing Wen Qingxuan, who possessed swift speed as well, Ji Xian could only give up on the idea of using his absolute speed to suppress her. A hurricane swept out as the two figures fell back. Wen Qingxuan gripped her golden war spear as her phoenix-like eyes looked at Ji Xian and coldly smiled. "You've finally given up running." Ji Xian's face was as solemn as the water as he did not reply. Torrential sacred spiritual energy rapidly gathered behind him, and in an instant, it had formed into a huge sacred sun behind him. It was the technique that he used against Wen Busheng. However, Ji Xian clearly placed Wen Qingxuan at a higher level that surpassed Wen Busheng. Thus, his hand seals changed again, and above the sacred light, another brilliant light gathered once again, and after that, another two sacred suns rapidly formed. 3 sacred suns. The 3 sacred suns hovered behind Ji Xian, and that formation made countless others feel their scalps numbing from the sight of it. So when he was fighting with Wen Busheng, Ji Xian had actually concealed so much of his strength, that fellow truly was deep and unmeasurable. Go? Ji Xian did not speak any nonsense as he flicked his finger. The 3 sacred suns soared into the sky and were positioned in a straight line, engulfing Wen Qingxuan as they descended. Under the dreadful suns, the impacts instantly created spiderwebs of cracks on the golden battle stage below. When Qingxuan lightly raised her head, the reflection of the suns was rapidly expanding in her eyes. However, she didn't have any fear as her pupils were still filled with cold pride. Facing such a fearsome attack from Ji Xian, she actually had no intentions of dodging. Boom! Boom! The 3 sacred suns ferociously fell down as the brilliant light spread out, covering the entire heavens and earth in divine light. The piercing light from them made innumerable others feel a stinging pain in their eyes and could not open them. The violent sacred light wreaked havoc in the sky for a long time, before it gradually dissipated. Many people stared in that direction as they were curious about whether Wen Qingxuan was able to escape from Ji Xian's dreadful attacks in that situation. As the sacred light gradually dissipated, the sky became clear again, and after that, innumerable people had their eyes suddenly widen as the noise of inhaling cold air resounded. At the same time, Ji Xian abruptly narrowed his eyes. Far in the sky, covered by golden light, a colossal golden phoenix was slowly expanding its wings in the golden light. The body was covered in golden light, as if it was forged from gold. It possessed a perfect posture, every single inch of it was oozing with pride and nobility, as if it was the sovereign of all lives. That's... Up in midair, even some deans had their facial expressions changed as they muttered, "That's the sacred golden phoenix." The sacred golden phoenix, rank 6 of the Myriad Beast Records Earth ranking. Rumors state that it was a beast that possessed the genuine bloodline of a phoenix. An existence that was comparable to a heavenly sovereign upon reaching the late stage of cultivation. No one could have expected that when Qingxuan had refined a sacred golden phoenix's soul essence. This trump card of hers was sufficient to shock anyone. Up in the sky, The sacred golden phoenix was flapping its golden wings that had golden light flowing on it. On its colossal figure, there was a slender silhouette standing there with a spear held in her hand. There was also golden light flowing in her gorgeous phoenix-like eyes as she stood on the golden phoenix. Her head was slightly lifted up with pride, revealing her snow-white and elegant neckline. After that, she extended her jade-like hand out as she undid the bundle of her hair. Instantly, her hair was like a waterfall as it drained down. That moment of demeanor made even the heavens and earth light up. At this moment, Wen Qingxuan was exceptionally stunning. Ji Xian also fixed his gaze on Wen Qingxuan, who was standing on top of a sacred golden phoenix and slowly clenched his fist. This opponent of his was even harder to handle than he had expected. Wen Qingxuan's phoenix-like eyes were also looking at him from far away. The golden war spear was pointed in a slanted position as a clear and crisp sound rang out between the heavens and earth. Ji Xian, bring out the primordial sky dragon hawk of yours. Otherwise, you won't stand a chance. Blood demon arms? Luo Li's gaze was a little cold as she stared at Shui Qianhe. At this moment, both of the latter's arms were surging with a bloody aura as the veins looked like earthworms wiggling in his arms. The piercing sharpness of them was like a blade, emitting a cold piercing aura that could even slice the earth apart. Luo Li had heard of the blood demon arms. It was said that there was a treasure in the Blood God clan, the Blood God arms. It was said that this divine artifact surpassed high rank, possessing absolute destructive powers. Its powers were comparable to the unsealed Luo God sword, and back then, her father was heavily injured by the Blood God clan's patriarch using the Blood God arms, destroying his sovereign sea and, thus, fell to it. As for the Blood Demon arms, it was a counterfeit of the Blood God arms. However, despite being a counterfeit, it possessed formidable power as well, reaching the level of a low-ranked divine artifact. Faint killing intent was emitted from Luo Li's eyes. Haha, looks like you hate these Blood Demon arms very much. Seeing Luo Li's face turn cold, Shui Qianhe smiled as he continued, was it because your father died by the Blood God arms of our clan? Good then, since your father died under the Blood God arms, I will use these Blood Demon arms today to defeat you, truly fitting for a pair of father and daughter. Shui Qianhe licked his scarlet lips as his smile became increasingly savage. Boom! After Shui Qianhe spoke, his gaze turned extremely vicious as he stomped his feet, causing cracks on the ground, and his figure swiftly appeared before Luo Li as he threw a punch out. Boom! Along with Shui Qianhe's fist, blood light spread out and instantly exploded the space in front of it. There were even faint distortions in the space. The power behind it was terrifyingly violent. Luo Li's expression was cold as she gripped her sword with one hand and the other supporting the end of the sword as she positioned the sword to block before her. Ding! The bloody fist heavily slammed against the sword blade, causing a metallic ringing sound to resonate. The ground beneath the two crumbled in an instant as a tidal wave of aura that was visible to the naked eye swept out. Whoosh! Luo Li's slender silhouette flew out as she pulled with her hand. The sword edge flickered as a sword aura converged and formed into a sword lotus as she thrust it forth, sending it towards the direction of Shui Qianhe. HMPH. However, facing the astonishingly sharp sword lotus, Shui Qianhe issued a cold snort as he maintained his extended punch. After activating the Blood Demon arms, the toughness of his arms was comparable to a divine artifact. Even Mu Chen, with his scepter rune lightning physique, might not gain any advantage from facing him. Boom! The bloody fist heavily slammed against the sword lotus as the blood light exploded, shattering the lotus with a fist. Sword aura gushed out as it clashed against Shui Qianhe's body, which was protected by his boundless spiritual energy. The violent gale of his fist was directed towards the direction of Luo Li from every direction. Boom! Boom! The scarlet blood fists brought along a ferocious aura as it whistled across the horizon. Every single fist contained extremely violent spiritual energy fluctuation. Shui Qianhe had already undergone his third-grade spirit disaster, and by borrowing the power of the Blood Demon arms, his attacks made the faces of people like Wu Ling to drastically change, as he knew that if Shui Qianhe had utilized such a trump card during their confrontation, he would probably lose in an instant. Rustle. Facing the whistling scarlet fists, Luo Li's figure did not retreat. As the sword aura swept out, the sharpness of it was even able to cut through space. However, comparing the two, Shui Qianhe clearly held the advantage. After all, the Blood Demon arms had fully fused with his arms, whereas Luo Li's Luo God Sword had layers of seals on it. All the students of the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy revealed nervous expressions on their faces as they saw Luo Li being constantly pushed back. Their palms were sweaty. After all, the talent revealed by Shui Qianhe was simply too fearsome. Shui Qianhe's eyes were blood red at this point in time, as his face was exceptionally savage as well. The Blood Demon arms were extremely violent, and thus, when he integrated it into his own body, it had affected his personality as well. The instant he used the Blood Demon arms, he would become extremely violent and bloodthirsty. However, he wasn't resisting it. On the contrary, he seemed to be enjoying it. "Ha ha, Luo Li, is that all your strength? Looks like your Luo God clan really has nobody. Since that's the case, I suggest for your clan to submit to our Blood God clan while there's still time. Otherwise, when we invade, we will unleash a total massacre." Shui Qianhe revealed a savage smile as his fist became increasingly more violent. Under the slamming of the numerous scarlet blood fists, Luo Li's slender silhouette was like a small boat in the vast ocean as she swayed about. Poof! Another piercing sword swept down as it sliced a blood fist apart. Luo Li's charming face was a little cold as she looked at Shui Qianhe, who had gone into a frenzy as the corner of her lips rose, revealing an arc with murderous intent. "Since you wish to witness my true strength, I'll show it to you, then. After all, I have to fulfill a dead man's wish." An ice-cold light appeared within Luo Li's crystal-clear eyes as she swiftly extended her slim hand out as she smeared some on the Luo God Sword. Fresh blood spreads out on the Luo God Sword in an instant, and with the pervade of the blood, ancient and profound runes began to appear on the Luo God Sword. Those runes were like chains as it bound the Luo God Sword, but at this instant, those chains gradually melt under the red blood. As the runes were melting, an azure light soared into the sky all of a sudden. At the same time, a dreadful sword intent engulfed this heaven and earth. Poof! Poof! Those blood-red fists that were flying in her direction were sliced apart despite having a distance of few dozen feet. The surface of the cut was as smooth as a mirror, turning into sparkles of light that filled the skies. Up in midair, the various deans had their facial expression slightly changed as they felt a gush of powerful sword intent that was even astonishing for them. The 5 great deans shifted their eyes as they looked at the direction where the sword intent was coming from. The savage expression on Shui Qianhe froze for an instant. He fixed his eyes at the azure ray of light as a feeling of unease rose in his heart. Dreadful sword intent engulfed the heaven and earth. As the azure light slowly fades, everyone abruptly narrowed their eyes in an instant. Up in the sky where Luo Li was, there was a heavy azure sword that was less than a feet in length hovering before her. That sword was azure in color as it seemed to be forged from ice. It was translucent, and through the sword blade, there was a section that seemed like ice bone. That ice bone was filled with ferocious spikes, and the spikes seemed to be extended to the edge of the sword. That heavy sword was roughly the size of Luo Li's height, and the sword blade was wide. Standing before it, Luo Li seemed even more petite and exquisite in comparison. It was quietly floating before Luo Li, and the sword blade was the origin for the sword intent that filled the skies. Shui Qianhe's expression was gloomy as he looked at the heavy azure sword with a smear of deep fear present in his eyes. He clenched his teeth as he spoke in an eerie tone. "You actually released the full form of the Luo God Sword. Based with that strength of yours, you can control it. That sword can be considered as a nightmare for the Blood God clan. In the past 100 years, God knows how many Sovereign Realm experts died from the sword. Although the Luo God Sword's might was dreadful, it wasn't something that anyone can control it, so much so that without its acknowledgement, not even a Sovereign Realm expert would touch it easily." The main reason why Shui Qianhe wasn't afraid of Luo Li earlier on was that he knew that Luo Li still couldn't unleash the true form of the Luo God Sword. However, it was completely different from what he had expected. Luo Li's crystal-clear eyes glanced at Shui Qianhe as he slowly extended her slim hand out and grabbed onto the heavy azure sword that seemed as though it was forged from ice. Buzz! Buzz! The moment Luo Li placed her hand on it, the Luo God Sword violently trembled as crisp sword cries burst out. As the Luo god sword trembled, Luo Li maintained a calm expression as she gripped tight on the sword handle. Her delicate palm was pierced from the sword intent emitting from the sword blade as fresh blood flowed. As the fresh blood fell onto the sword, it was being absorbed into the azure sword blade. An extremely sharp sword intent seemed as though her wrist was about to be chopped off, but Luo Li still maintained a calm expression as she stubbornly and unwaveringly held onto the sword handle, refusing to let go. Buzzing sword cries lasted for a long while, to the point that fresh blood nearly covered the entire sword blade before stopping. Because of the intense blood loss, her rosy lips were a little pale, but at this moment, her lips rose as she immediately raised her head and looked at Shui Qianhe, whose face was extremely unsightly at this moment, with indifference. "Now, I'll let you experience the true Luo god sword." When Luo Li finished her speech with dense chill contained in her tone, her figure abruptly burst out, and in a near instant, she had already appeared above Shui Qianhe. She held onto her sword as the heavy azure sword slammed down without any fancy moves. As the Luo god sword slashed down, cracks appeared in the sky, appearing to be torn by the sword as well. A sword light that was roughly 1,000 feet in size as the sword light tore through the horizon as it slashed down relentlessly along with destructive sharpness. Seeing that, Shui Qianhe's face gradually turned ugly. 1,000 feet sword light descend from the sky, causing faint tears on the space in the path of the sword light. The entire heaven and earth seemed to be engulfed by the piercing sword intent. Even before the sword light lands, the firm ground was already pierced with thousands of holes. After utilizing the true form of the Luo god sword, Luo Li's attacks had already reached a terrifying state. Not to mention the students, even several elders of the various spiritual academies had their face changed from the sight of it. Likewise, Shui Qianhe's face was also unsightly at this moment as his feet dug into the ground by half an inch from the piercing pressure of the sword intent. Right now, there was no way he could avoid it as the sword light had already locked onto him, sealing the surrounding space from the sword intent. Clearly, Luo Li had intended to heavily injure him with this strike. "I refuse to believe that you can truly control the Luo god sword with your strength." Shui Qianhe's face was a little twisted. Although Luo Li could bring out the true form of the Luo god sword, it doesn't mean that she could fully unleash its power. Otherwise, Shui Qianhe would probably be slaughtered in an instant by now. Roar? Shui Qianhe took a step forth. He unleashed a roar that sounded like a wild beast from his throat. The blood flow in his scarlet arm surged in an instant as his veins slowly turned red, fresh blood oozed out from his pores. Vaguely, it had already formed into two ferocious faces of demons on his arms. A peculiar fluctuation spread out along with it. Blood demon arms, demon devours the sky. Shui Qianhe's sharp roar resonated out along with boundless spiritual energy. He clenched into a fist as he threw a fist forth. Boom! Boom! Sheets of air exploded before him as Shui Qianhe's arms seemed as if there were countless blood-red earthworms wiggling, and along with that punch, two colossi bloodthirsty bloodlight boomed out. The two bloodlight shot forth and condensed, swiftly forming into two large demonic mouths that was few hundred feet in size. The two mouths devoured the spiritual energy in this heaven and earth as if they could devour anything. Whoosh! Even with the two demonic mouths formed, that sword light was still slashing down without the slightest hesitation. Rustle! No one could clearly see the sword light flit across, they only saw a flash of light, and the two horrifying demonic mouths in the sky exploded, causing trembles on the vast golden battle stage beneath as a crack that was roughly 1,000 feet swiftly spreads out. Dust rose as it covered the entire battle stage. Innumerable people directed their gaze over. Luo Li was still standing in midair. Although she was slender and fair, she seemed rather petite in comparison to the Luo god sword in her hands. However, it was this offbeat contrast that gave her a little different temperament compared to the usual her. Cold and austere. Her charming and cold gaze was looking down at the dust. The wind blew as it dispersed the dust and everyone directed their gaze over. On the stage, a hideous 1,000 feet ravine was spreading, and at the end of the crack in a caved-in spot, Shui Qianhe's figure was seen. At this moment, his clothes on his upper body were all shredded, with both his arms posturing across before him, and on his strange blood demon arms, there was a deep sword wound that extends from his fist to his shoulders, and bones could be seen from the wound. Fresh blood was like a stream as it flowed down, dyeing the ground beneath him in red. Shui Qianhe's face was twisted as he couldn't control the twitching on the corner of his lips as he saw the wounds on his arm. After integrating with the Blood Demon arms, both of his arms were comparable to low-rank divine artifact, so much so that his arms could be described as indestructible. But right now, there was a deep wound that nearly chopped off his arms. Furthermore, it was even more terrifying as his wounds were filled with piercing sword intent. It was those penetrating cold sword intent that caused the regeneration ability of the Blood Demon arms to lose effect. The Luo God sword was indeed terrifying. Shui Qianhe clenched his teeth as a smear of deep fear flashed across his eyes. Luo Li's strength had surpassed his expectation, and although he still had hidden cards under his sleeves, it would still be hard to do anything to Luo Li. Looks like it wasn't an easy task to defeat Luo Li. Shui Qianhe's gaze faintly flickered as he took a sweep at the other battle stage. Shortly after, his expression turned malevolent all of a sudden as he swiftly made seals with his hands. Roar! Along with the swift changes of Shui Qianhe's seals, a violent roar rang out from his body. Torrential bloodlight spread out, taking a form of a huge blood-red beast with the size of roughly 1,000 feet behind Shui Qianhe. The large beast stood on the ground, covered in blood-red scales. Sinister-looking red bone spikes protruded from its back. The sharpness of it seems as if it could penetrate through space, and last but not least, a pair of scarlet eyes that was filled with violence and brutality. A gush of ominous aura surged up the skies. Shui Qianhe had actually utilized the demonic blood beast's soul essence in his body. Looks like he was forced to such miserable extent by Luo Li, all the students exclaimed up upon witnessing the changes. Luo Li's cold gaze was looking at the huge demonic blood beast as the killing intent in her eyes became even denser. Blood God art, heavenly trapping sea. Shui Qianhe issued a roar, and as he opened his mouth, fresh blood gushed out, and at the same time, the demonic blood beast also opened its mouth as tidal of fresh blood were like waves as it surged out. The two gush of fresh blood combined and swiftly expanded in the wind. In a blink of an eye, forming a vast sea of fresh blood in midair, the sea engulfed the heavens and earth with Luo Li in the center of it. Boom! The fresh blood sea rolled violently, forming into 1,000 feet scarlet tornado as it trapped Luo Li within it. Dreadful power was devastating as it attempts to kill Luo Li. Boom! The blood sea violently rolled, creating a world-shaking commotion. However, just when everyone thought that Shui Qianhe was going to make use of this time to launch his attacks, he suddenly tapped his feet on the ground as he leapt up the demonic blood beast. The blood beast was striding its large steps as it retreated out of the colossal battle stage in a flash. Clear, crisp phoenix cry resonated in the heaven and earth. The golden phoenix was flapping its gorgeous golden wings. Under the shine of sunlight, it was flickering with dazzling luster. The elegance and majestic made innumerable students look with an envious gaze. Wen Qingxuan stood proudly above the golden phoenix as the spear in her hand was pointed towards Ji Xian. Compared to Wen Qingxuan, Ji Xian was standing on the air as he looked at the golden phoenix beneath her as his gaze was a little solemn. He wasn't much surprised, and clearly, he had already expected it. Ha, what a great fortune you have to actually be able to refine the soul essence of the sacred golden phoenix, Ji Xian faintly smiled. Looks like Wen Qingxuan's background was fairly strong. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to obtain the soul essence of a sacred golden phoenix and refine it successfully. Likewise, Wen Qingxuan raised her phoenix eyes as she spoke out in an indifferent tone. Looks like you do not intend to summon your primordial sky dragon hawk out. There's still no need for it at this point in time, smiled Ji Xian. Really? When Qingxuan's eyes grew cold and no longer being modest, the golden war spear in her hands trembled all of a sudden and the golden phoenix also let out a crisp cry as it flapped its wings. Countless golden feathers soared into a sky and converged, forming into a spear of golden feathers that was roughly 100 feet. Whoosh! The spear of golden feathers thrust out with swift speed, and in an instant, the spear already appeared above Ji Xian's head. Rustle! The long spear in Ji Xian's hand also exploded with brilliant radiance with boundless spiritual energy that swept out in a tidal manner. His spear flashed as he thrust it forth, colliding with the spear of golden feathers swiftly. Boom! The crisp metallic sound rang out as the destructive impact sent Ji Xian flying out. As his figure flew out, Ji Xian still maintained a faint smile as his gaze gradually turned ill. Both his hands formed seals in an instant as a terrifying spiritual energy ripples burst out from his body. Great sacred light art, Pentecost. When Ji Xian's deep roar sounded out, brilliant sacred light appeared as it formed into 1,000 feet light illusion above him, and that light illusion slammed a palm towards Wen Qingxuan. That palm seemed as if it could crack mountains and calm the sea, containing absolute might. Clearly, Ji Xian had resorted to using his finish moves when facing the powerful Wen Qingxuan. HMPH. When Qingxuan let out a cold snort as she looked at the light illusion that could instill fear in others, she did not retreat as she lightly stomped her golden war spear. The golden phoenix soared up the skies. Human and phoenix appeared as if they had turned into a radiant golden ray of light as it soared up with indescribable speed and clashed with the light illusion. Boom! Heaven and earth violently trembled as sacred and golden light spread out, causing signs of distortion in this horizon. The spiritual energy impact that was unleashed from their clash exploded the heaven and earth. Boom! The light illusion and golden phoenix unwavering faced off as two surges of dreadful energy were erasing each other, but clearly, the golden phoenix had the upper hand as the light illusion gradually turned dull from the erosion of the golden light. Facing the scene, Ji Xian still maintained an indifferent expression as a smear of chill flashed across his eyes and lightly nodded his head. In the sky that was filled with sacred and golden light, a redness was suddenly mixed in all of a sudden. The face of innumerable others drastically changed, especially those girls of the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy. Their face was exceptionally unsightly. Behind the golden phoenix, there was a sudden appearance of bloodlight as a huge demonic blood demon strode the air as it brandished its fist down ruthlessly along with torrential ominous aura. A sudden unforeseen event occurred between the battle of the two. Earth-shattering bloodlight tyrannically charged into the region that was covered with sacred and golden light. The demonic blood beast that was emitting a violent and vicious aura also appeared behind the golden light formed from the sacred golden phoenix like a demon. The sudden change made everyone feel startled. They wouldn't imagine why that big fellow would burst onto the battle stage that didn't belong to him. What is he trying to do? Some people had uncontrollably widened their eyes as they muttered. Roar? Just when everyone was absent-minded, the demonic blood beast issued a ferocious roar, clenching its fist with bloodlight gushing out and ruthlessly shot it forth. It was like a red shooting star, heavily slamming against the sacred golden phoenix at lightning speed. That fist was exceptionally ferocious. Despicable. Simply a bunch of assholes. 2 against 1. Bullying girls? When Shuiqian's intentions were completely revealed, the multitude of students reacted in an instant as all sorts of curses covered the skies. They were filled with indignation as their eyes showed disdain. No matter what the rules were, this battle was a one-on-one, fighting with their true ability. No matter what the results were, the victor would be well respected by others. However, Shuiqian's actions had clearly broken the fairness when he resorted to such means. Furthermore, the main point was that it was an absolutely gorgeous girl. Anyone would inwardly smack their lips if they saw two guys bullying a girl. The curses from the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy were the loudest, with their faces ashened. Although they couldn't find any other vulgar and harsh words, their voices were filled with rage. Even the students of the Saint Spiritual Academy were a little strange as they exchanged looks, but they did not dare to refute in case they attracted everyone's rage. Boom! Shuiqian's attack was too sudden and was also out of Wen Qingxuan's expectations. Thus, when she felt the fluctuations coming from her back, the expression on her beautiful face uncontrollably changed as well. However, Wen Qingxuan was someone whose fame could rival Ji Xian's. Clearly, it wasn't fully due to her charming looks, since she was someone that possessed both strength and talent, someone that even Ji Xian wouldn't dare to belittle. Thus, at such a dangerous moment, she could still maintain her calm. At this moment, she clenched her teeth as the wings of the sacred golden phoenix unfolded from behind, forming a huge golden shield. Boom! The blood-red fist heavily slammed against the golden shield that was formed from the golden wings. In an instant, a dreadful impact wreaked havoc, causing the space to be a little distorted as well. On the golden wings, the feathers shattered, turning into screens of golden sparkles. Wen Qingxuan's face instantly turned pale, since her defense was too hurried. Thus, even though she had managed to block Shui Qianhe's attacks, she had suffered injuries as well. Boom! Just as Wen Qingxuan was dividing her attention to blocking Shui Qianhe's attacks, Ji Xian gave a faint smile in front of her as the sacred light illusion that showed signs of dispersing a moment ago suddenly turned radiant. Shortly after, sacred light gathered on its illusionary hand and formed into a huge light spear with the size of 1,000 feet. Great sacred light art, descent of the sacred spear. Ji Xian pointed his finger out as a sacred spear in the hand of the light illusion whistled down. In an instant, it appeared above the sacred golden phoenix. The fluctuations coming from it seemed like it could penetrate through the heavens and earth. Demonic blood seal. When Ji Xian unleashed his attack, Shui Qianhe, who was standing on the shoulder of the demonic blood beast, revealed a vicious smile as well. In an instant, he formed seals with his hand, and along with the changes of his seals, the huge demonic blood beast was also forming similar seals. A bloody light soared into the air, and a small and big seal that looked as if they were converged from blood shot out and swiftly merged together in midair. It expanded to the size of a few hundred feet as it pressed down towards Wen Qingxuan and the sacred golden phoenix, along with a tidal wave of a blood-reeking aura. The attacks of the two were so powerful that it made any expert that had gone through the third-grade spirit disasters heart to tremble. The level of those attacks was already approaching to that of a sovereign realm expert. As the colossal pressure shroud over, Wen Qingxuan firmly gripped her long spear. Even in such a dangerous situation, her gorgeous eyes were still filled with pride, without any fear. She was like the prideful sacred golden phoenix. Wen Qingxuan heavily stomped her golden war spear as a radiant golden light gushed from the sacred golden phoenix in all directions. The golden light was extremely viscous, as if it became a golden-colored liquid. Furthermore, the golden liquid was solidifying at a rapid speed. In just a few breaths' time, it had formed into a huge golden sphere that enveloped the sacred golden phoenix. That golden sphere was flickering with radiant luster, perfectly round without any flaws. There also was a drawing of a golden phoenix soaring on the surface of it. The firmness it gave off seemed like it could withstand the most fearsome attack in this world. Golden protection. As the golden sphere was formed, Wen Qingxuan's cold bark resonated between the heavens and earth. Facing both Ji Xian and Shui Qianhe's attacks, even if Wen Qingxuan had utilized the power of the sacred golden phoenix's soul essence, she could only resort to using the most powerful defense that she possessed. Boom! When the golden sphere was formed, the shocking attacks of Ji Xian and Shui Qianhe reached her at the same time and slammed against the golden sphere under the countless nervous gazes. Boom! In the instant of impact, an earth-shattering sound rang out as a visible golden blast wave exploded. The clouds in the sky were instantly torn to shreds. Both Ji Xian and Shui Qianhe flew away from the terrifying impact. The light illusion shattered and the chest of the demonic blood beast had also sunk by a huge patch, issuing a howling roar. However, everyone's gazes were staring at the region covered in golden light. The golden sphere was still intact. Crack! However, the silence only lasted for an instant, before everyone's faces underwent drastic changes as cracks appeared on the golden sphere and were spreading at a terrifying speed. Boom! In a few breaths' time, cracks already covered the entire golden sphere. Clearly, the golden sphere had already reached its limit and exploded. The golden sphere exploded along with a mournful phoenix cry. The sacred golden phoenix's colossal figure was actually rapidly fading away as a slender silhouette was sent flying away from the impact. Poof! The slender silhouette stood in midair as a mouthful of blood gushed from her mouth. Her gorgeous face was pale as well. Be it Ji Xian or Shui Qianhe, both of them possessed the ability to be evenly matched with her, and now that the two of them allied, it was naturally hard for Wen Qingxuan to rival them. Bastards! Innumerable students once again started to curse with indignation in this region. Up in midair, the 5 great deans did not speak upon witnessing the scene. Only Dean Tangqiu of the Myriad Phoenix Academy was exceptionally unsightly at this moment. However, she did not speak as this was within the rules for the Battle of the Champion. No matter what means the participants resorted to, the last one standing would be the champion. However, no one had expected for Shui Qianhe to suddenly attack Wen Qingxuan. Looks like that fellow knows that it is impossible for him to fight with Luo Li alone, thus, he decided to help Ji Xian defeat Wen Qingxuan first, before the both of them worked together to defeat Luo Li. Up in the sky, Shui Qianhe's expression was indifferent as he looked at the heavily injured Wen Qingxuan. He exchanged a glance with Ji Xian as a smear of chill flashed across his eyes. The both of them were well aware of Wen Qingxuan's strength, and now that they had the opportunity, then they would definitely have to heavily injure her to the point that she could no longer fight and they couldn't give her any time to recover. Thus, facing the curses that rang out in this region, they both shot a palm out once again. Two majestic spiritual energies swept out as they ruthlessly shot towards Wen Qingxuan, whose spiritual energy was in a total mess. Seeing their actions, the curses of rage became even more intense. Wen Qingxuan stood in midair as she had also sensed the ruthless attacks of those two. Although she wanted to defend herself, the spiritual energy in her body was in a mess, and it was hard for her to control it at the moment. Thus, she sighed and closed her eyes. When the girls of the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy witnessed the scene, those whose personalities were a little frail had their eyes reddened. Boom! However, just when everyone was sighing in pity, a piercing sword intent instantly soared into the sky. Everyone looked up and a huge sword tyrannically slashed the vast blood sea apart. The blood sea vanished, and a figure swiftly burst forth and was behind Wen Qingxuan in an instant as she held the latter by the waist and the Luo God sword in her hand suddenly swept out. The sword light wreaked havoc as it tore the two spiritual energies apart. Rustle. The sudden change attracted gasps of surprise from the innumerable students once again. A burst of cheers that trembled the heavens and earth rang out, and the girls of the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy were a little stunned as they looked at the gorgeous girl that was carrying Wen Qingxuan by her waist at the moment. In the next instant, their eyes flickered with stars as they were carried away and screamed. Wow! It's that girl called Luo Li. How formidable! She's so cool, I like her so much. Countless screams were being yelled out from the Myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy, which instantly made the eyes of the male students from the various other academies in the surroundings blacken. Their faces were filled with resentment as they nearly fainted. Under the yells, Luo Li loosened her grip on Wen Qingxuan's waist as she looked at Ji Xian and Shui Qianhe, who were before her, with a cold gaze. Her pupils were filled with cold killing intent. Are you all right? Luo Li turned around as she looked at the pale Wen Qingxuan. I'm all right, the two of us can go together. Wen Qingxuan clenched her teeth as she struggled a little in an attempt to fight again. However, the chaotic spiritual energy in her body wasn't under her control, which made her sway left and right. Your injuries are too grievous. Take a little rest, I'll block them. Luo Li spoke slowly. No. Wen Qingxuan anxiously said, since she knew how powerful Ji Xian and Shui Qianhe were if they were to join hands. Luo Li did not speak anything else as she held onto the Luo God sword and slowly strode forth. Her tranquil expression that she originally wore was filled with killing intent as a piercing sword intent filled the heavens and earth. When Qingxuan looked at Luo Li and shockingly realized that the latter's silvery long hair was actually turning back. The silvery hair was turning black. This episode ends here. Thanks you for watching.